Hello and welcome back to the channel. Hi if you're new here. Hi if you're not. Today we're listening to yet another viewer submitted story of someone who was deeply harmed by their friend turned coach who decided to cosplay as a therapist and invite them into their healing trauma program. So let's go ahead and jump right in. It all started online. My friend who I lost touch with years ago started a 21-day challenge of making live self-help videos on Facebook. Why is it always on Facebook? I was shocked. A friend who used to stay in council housing or sleeping on her aunt's sofa because she could not ever commit to any money-making activity for very long. Suddenly, she committed to doing something for 21 days consistently, and I was impressed. I rejoiced. Not only that, what she was sharing in those videos was smart, deep, and felt very authentic. I thought to myself that she has gone a long way, and I was happy for her progress. She sounded so confident and clear-headed, something I was definitely lacking in myself at the time. Apparently, she had healed her traumas in a program she did, and she became suddenly capable and confident. Such a change. I wanted that too. I wanted to heal my traumas finally and stop being haunted by past events that I could no longer change. I was in a quite vulnerable place back then, and I found her videos quite helpful and inspiring. On top of that, she was my friend, and I was proud of her. At some point, she advertised that she had new openings for her one on one sessions, and I thought I would give it a go, mostly to support my friend, but also because I believed it and thought it might actually be helpful. We did a session online, and in that session, she got me into the meditative state and began diving into my unresolved traumas. Oh no, 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 no. Please, please, please. I know sometimes people in the comments can get upset when I say this, but do not go to an unlicensed professional for help with your trauma. Trauma is very complex, very deeply rooted, and you can cause yourself a lot more harm than good if you try to resolve your traumas with someone who has no idea what they're doing. So, hindsight is 2020. I get that. But if you're watching this video and you're considering hiring an unlicensed, unregulated life coach to help you heal your traumas, I would encourage you just maybe to think twice about that choice before you make it. Okay. I thought the session was brilliant, even though I couldn't remember much of it afterwards. What I knew was that I've never experienced anything like that before. I felt like I released some heavy weight that day, so I booked another session. I was hooked on the feeling of releasing old trauma. I could feel my consciousness expanding too. I was learning about things I had no idea about. Now I would probably call it brainwashing. But then it felt like going deep into unseen things normal people would not even comprehend. Okay, this particular line is actually super interesting to me. This idea of like, now I would call it brainwashing, but at the time I just felt like I was enlightened to something that other people don't understand. I think that regardless of whether we're talking about the life coaching space, the spiritual coaching space, the business coaching space, this is really common rhetoric that we see in any of these like high control cult like groups. When you are in these communities, and those of you that have been involved in them, I'm sure can speak to this in the comments. I know that it's true for my experience. When you are around these groups of people, there is this narrative of
The people on the outside just don't understand what you're going through. They don't get it. We are so much more in tune with our conscience, with our intuition, with our insert thing here, that those normies just don't get it. They're not as, privy to the secret information that we are.
And I honestly think that in a lot of cases, this is just a tactic that's used to keep you stuck in those spaces because it basically builds fear or resentment towards people on the outside because they aren't going to be able to help you through your things. You need to pay me money so I can help you because I know the secrets. And you can only know the secrets if you pay me money to help you learn the secrets. You get what I'm saying? So this just in particular really stuck out to me because I think it's something you don't see when you're in these groups. But then once you get out, you're like,
Oh my God, these people were basically controlling my thoughts.
scary. I then signed up for her program, which was 11 sessions, which turned out exactly to be the same number of sessions that her coach offers. 7 sessions were supposed to be deep and touching my traumas in a meditative state, working with my subconscious mind and making me release issues I was never aware of. The next 6 sessions were supposed to calm down the open wounds, calm emotions, and help me heal for good. I would be curious to know what this coach's credentials are, or if you genuinely just signed up because they were your friend and they had allegedly healed their traumas. Because I can definitely understand and empathize with people when you see someone who you do have that level of trust with already, who seems to be doing well, who seems to be successful. You might let your guard down and not ask those questions of like, okay, but are you actually qualified to be doing this? Or are you just going to teach me from your own personal experience? Because you know them on a personal level, I could see how you might just be like, oh, well, it seemed to work for Sally, so maybe it'll work for me too. But that being said, I still genuinely, as an outsider, would be curious to know if this person has any kind of credential certifications or anything at all, because this seems like the audacity is just wild to me to think that you are capable of helping people heal these things. We started with traumas. Some of the traumas were legit issues I really had. Some were clearly made up, looking from the time perspective, but back then it was making sense in some sort of twisted logic I was presented with. I thought she was great. She could identify my traumas so easily and get to the root of it, while I was not even clever enough to know that I had such an issue in the first place. I was asking her how she was doing it, and she was always replying that she didn't know. All she was doing was being a vessel in the hands of God. Okay, so to me, it sounds like this person believes they are channeling messages from God, and then they're telling you what's wrong with you based on the voices that they're hearing. So that in itself is very concerning to me. I started trusting her and distrusting my own feelings and emotions until one of our sessions, she told me a couple of times that I had zero power. The first time she said that, I believed and felt ashamed. But then I realized that I live abroad with no family. I have a PhD in math and a very well paid job. I bought and fully renovated my house mostly myself. Surely a person with zero power wouldn't be able to accomplish all of that. Seriously, congratulations, first of all. But second of all, this person can get lost. This is crazy. So the second time she brought it up, I disagreed. Good for you. In response, she started bringing up some stuff from the past, from the time when we were still friends. Let me guess, this lady is going to be grasping at straws here. She said to me, we both know that you use your boyfriends to supply yourself with mental power, and then when you charge yourself, you leave and go traveling. She was basically referring to my past emotionally abusive relationship, which finally came to an end, and I went backpacking to recover. It is very clear to me through this woman's words and actions that she has literally no idea what she's doing. When I disagreed with her, she concluded that we tend to suppress difficult truths about ourselves, and if we don't agree with her, it's because my ego doesn't want to let me see those parts of me which are ugly. But I should trust her, as she is clearly seeing my repeated patterns. Okay, so it sounds to me like she is trying to gaslight you into believing that she knows you better than you know yourself. And if you don't believe what she's saying, it's because, again,
You just don't know. You aren't privy to the information that I have because I'm so much more enlightened than you.
this is like cult speak. This is just, it's not it. It's not the vibe, okay?
Like, it's not the vibe. Stop!
At that point, I wanted to stop the sessions, but I felt I had no choice but to carry on. I needed desperately to get to the sessions, which were supposed to close my open wounds and calm all my emotions. It was because at that very stage, all my childhood trauma and wounds were so wide open and I was re traumatized by the session that I started having physical symptoms, attacks of shaking, fainting, dizziness, and a bunch of other symptoms. I was unable to drive, I was on a sick leave, and I was unable to walk more than 50 meters. And I was terrified as I didn't know what was wrong with my body or how serious it was. Doctors were scratching their heads too. I told her about my symptoms right when they started, and her first reaction was that she is learning how powerful she is and that she thought I was her level and I could take her sessions, but clearly not. And that she is too powerful compared to me and she will have to take it easy on me as I am not on her level. This is unbelievable, truly. The fact that she is taking your physical embodiment of this trauma, your symptoms, and then turning it around to make it about herself and how incredibly powerful she is and how you're just not strong enough to handle my work, to me demonstrates the fact, again, that this woman has no fucking idea what she's doing. I think Allegedly, in my opinion. This is a tactic used to get you to continue to feel dependent on her. Like she's the one that's going to have the solution for you because she's so incredibly powerful that she created this problem. She's the only one that's going to be able to fix it. And it's absolutely disgusting. It's also the exact opposite of any kind of ethical coaching or therapy relationship. Again, allegedly, in my opinion. So, in the following session, though, she changed her mind and claimed that my symptoms had nothing to do with her sessions. But just in case, she sent me a disclaimer to sign. I wonder if she talked to her upline and they were like,
oh shit, I got sued for that one. So you might wanna get them to sign this paperwork to say that you're not a therapist and this is not your responsibility.
like, that's a very interesting change of attitude, if you ask me. I didn't want to carry on at that point, but I was desperate for my symptoms to calm down, so I continued with her remaining 6 sessions, which were supposed to calm emotions and heal wounds. You see, this is what I'm talking about. This is like textbook psychological manipulation in the fact that a lot of these coaches build these codependent relationships where even though they're the ones that created these problems for you, you start to feel as though they're also the only one that's going to be able to help you through it. Or in some cases, we've heard stories where people have invested so much money that they don't have any money left to go hire a therapist or someone else to help, or they feel indebted to this person because it's something they've already paid for. So these are all factors that go into it. It's just so distressing and heartbreaking to hear this firsthand from someone who's been through this experience. The sessions didn't help, and it took a year to find a physical cause of my symptoms. Epileptic patterns on an EEG scan. I went on epilepsy medication, which helps to mitigate the symptoms to a certain degree at least. It's not epilepsy as such, but it is an attack and meds are helping. I have been functioning mostly normally since, with some days being better than others. In a year spent looking for medical explanation for my symptoms, getting all the tests and appointments possible, and having a poor quality of life, I experienced a lot of anxiety. Till today, I am scared to be alone in case something happens with my body and I don't know what it is. I also found out, surprise, surprise, that my friend had no qualifications of any kind or run sessions like that, and I was her first client. I am so sorry that you had this experience. Again, I think that this story is not unique in that we see people take advantage of existing personal relationships. How many times have we heard the story of like, message your 10 closest family friends to be your first clients? Like people will leverage any opportunity to take advantage of an existing relationship in order to shill their coaching programs. And I'm not saying all people do this, but it is a common theme that we see in the stories that we hear on this channel, where people are leveraging existing relationships in order to profit financially, mostly, without having to like scrounge and find some random stranger on the internet to trust them. It's much easier to go after people you already know than it is to try and forge those new relationships. So I think that this is just, unfortunately, an example of that. Please share this message with as many people as you can. Doing trauma healing with people with no qualifications is not a joke. It can mess you up mentally or physically for good. Don't do such sessions yourself, nor let others be in the situation. If you are thinking of starting a coaching business yourself, think twice or 3 times, and whatever you do, don't ever touch trauma. Leave it for the skilled and experienced therapists, and don't play with human life. Okay, I probably say this in every one of these videos that I make, but it's stories like this that are exactly why I continue to keep making videos. And I actually have a video from probably over 2 years ago now where I go over how exactly coaching is not therapy and why it's so dangerous for coaches to be cosplaying as therapists. And so the fact that we're now in 2025 and this is still happening to me demonstrates that this isn't just about one bad coach or one person's bad experience in the coaching industry. It's about demonstrating a pattern of individuals who are underqualified, unqualified completely, manipulating people and taking advantage of vulnerable people in order to achieve their own personal gain, often with zero accountability for their actions. And I really just wanted to share this story because I think it's yet another example of someone with zero qualifications playing with someone's life, playing with their well-being, playing with their mental and physical health. To what end? There are real psychological, and in this case, physical implications for this behavior. And when we take vulnerable and traumatized people and try to package it up under the guise of, transformation and internal healing, it's just so baffling to me that people continue to get away with this stuff. And so I think if there's one sort of takeaway for you here in this video, it's that Real healing, specifically in the context of trauma, PTSD, that sort of thing, should be left in the hands of the professionals. And any coach that is claiming that they can help you heal your trauma is, in my opinion, way overstepping their boundaries. As always, I want to give a big thank you to the individual who was brave enough to submit this story and share it with those of you watching. I appreciate you all so much for continuing to support my content. I want to give a big thank you to our channel VIP members. Thank you so much for being here, as well as my rich, wealthy friends in the billionaire tier. Thank you so much for your continued support. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Leave your thoughts in the comments down below. If you have your own story that you want me to potentially read out here on the channel, the form where you can submit it is linked in the description of every single one of my videos. I really hope that sharing this story helps to prevent even just one person from getting scammed. And I'm going to leave you on screen here with the story of someone else who spent $21,000 on a relationship coach. So take care, comb your hair, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!